A seasoned woman is spicy. She has been marinated in life, experiences, like a complex wine. She can be alternately sweet, tart, sparkling, mellow. She is both maternal and playful, assured, alluring, and resourceful. Being a pathfinder is to be willing to risk failure and still go on. No sooner do we think we have assembled a comfortable life than we find a piece of ourselves that has no place to fit in. With each passage of human growth, we must shed a protective structure. We are left exposed and vulnerable, but also yeasty and embryonic again, capable of stretching in ways we hadn't known before. Husbands come and go, children come and eventually they go, friends grow up and move away, but the one thing that's never lost is your sister. The secret of a leader lies in the tests he has faced over the whole course of his life and the habit of action he develops. In meeting those tests, changes are not only possible and predictable, but to deny them is to be an accomplice to one's own unnecessary vegetation. Democratization is not democracy. It is a slogan for the temporary liberalization handed down from an autocrat. Glasnost is not free speech. Only free speech, constitutionally guaranteed, is free speech. The present never ages. Each moment is like a snowflake, unique, unspoiled, unrepeatable, and can be appreciated in its surprisingness. Would that there were an award for people who come to understand the concept of enough, good enough, successful enough, thin enough, rich enough, socially responsible enough. When you have self-respect, you have enough. Transformation also means looking for ways to stop pushing yourself so hard, professionally, or inviting so much stress. The delights of self-discovery are always available. A restless vitality wells up as we approach 30. The perceptions of middle age have their own luminosity. It is a paradox that as we reach out prime, we also see there is a place where it finishes. To be tested is good. The challenged life may be the best therapist. The one thing prostitution is not is a victimless crime. It attracts a wide species of preying criminals and generates a long line of victims, beginning with the most obvious and least understood, the prostitute herself. Leaders are people we as followers want to regard with awe as the fullest flowering of our own possibilities. Adolescents are like cockroaches. They come out the minute you leave town, crawl the walls, feed indiscriminately, reproduce alarmingly unless drugged, and will certainly outlast you. When you have self-respect, you have enough, with the only certainty in our daily existence being change, and a rate of change growing always faster in a kind of technological leapfrog game. Speed helps people think they are catching up. You may never know when things start to go bad, but when things are worse, you know it. When men reach their 60s and retire, they go to pieces. Women go right on cooking. There is no more defiant denial of one man's ability to possess one woman exclusively than the prostitute who refuses to redeem whether one has natural talent or not. Any learning period requires the willingness to suffer uncertainty and embarrassment. Though loved ones move in and out of our lives, the capacity to love remains. The other real forces urging young people into marriages generally sift down to one of the following: the need for safety, the need to fill some vacancy in themselves, the need to get away from home, the need for prestige or practicality. Safety. As men and women enter midlife, the tables begin to turn. Many men I interviewed found themselves wanting to learn how to be responsive by listening, by caring, by playing you back to yourself. Friends ratify your better instincts and endorse your unique worth. Friends validate you. Creativity could be described as letting go of certainties. Doubts immobilize, believing that we are independent and competent enough to master the external tasks. Constantly fortifies us in our attempts to become so. It is only later we discover that logic cannot penetrate the loneliness of the human soul. 1. Many of us are not consciously aware of such fears. With enough surface bravado to fool the people we meet, we fool ourselves as well. But the memory of formlessness is never far beneath, so we hasten to try on life's uniforms. In my memoir, I admit that I've then as fearful of success as of failure. In fact, when Passages was published, I so dreaded bad reviews that I ran away to Italy with a girlfriend and our children to hide out. Men are not given awards and promotions for bravery and intimacy. My mother had demonstrated that the best way to defeat the numbing ambivalence of middle age is to surprise yourself by pulling off some cartwheel of thought or action, never even imagined at a younger age, the fundamental steps of expansion that will open a person, over time, to the full flowering of his or her individuality are the same for both genders, but men and women are rarely in the same place struggling with the same questions at the same age. It is no longer enough to be competent and promising. A man wants now to be recognized and respected, no matter how different the forms we choose. Our concentration during the trying 20s is on mastering what we feel we are supposed to do, ignorant of our own and our mate's inner life. We are ruled largely by external forces at this stage. No two people can possibly coordinate all their developmental crises. To hear how special and wonderful we are is endlessly enthralling. The caring of experienced partners goes less into roles and more into enhancing the special qualities and endearing idiosyncrasies that brought them together in the first place. Many people find it easier to live together when that commitment is voluntarily renewed. We look to our mates, to our children, to money or success, hoping they will extend the protection of the caregivers from our childhood. If we don't change, we don't grow. If we don't grow, we are not really living. Growth demands a temporary surrender of security, and even as one part of us seeks the freedom to be an individual, another part is always searching for someone or something to surrender our freedom to. We are the only ones with our own set of thoughts and bundle of feelings. Another person can taste them through shared experience or conversation, but no other person can ever really digest them. If we don't change, we don't grow. If we don't grow, we aren't really living. Gailsheehy, born Gail Henyon, November 27, 1936, August 24, 2020, was born in Mamaroneck, New York, to Lillian Rainey Henyon and Harold Merritt Henyon. Her mother's family was Scots-Irish. Her grandmother, Agnes Rooney, ran away from Northern Ireland to the United States as a mail-order bride. Another part of her mother's family was Scottish and worked the Ulster plantation for English landowners. In 1958, she graduated from the University of Vermont with a Bachelor of Arts in English and Home Economics. She later returned to school in 1970, earning her Master of Arts in Journalism from Columbia University, where she studied on a Rockefeller Foundation Fellowship under the cultural anthropologist Margaret Mead. Gail Sheehy was an American author, journalist, and lecturer. She was the author of 17 books and numerous high-profile articles for magazines such as New York and Vanity Fair. Sheehy played a part in the movement Tom Wolfe called the New Journalism, sometimes known as creative nonfiction, in which journalists and essayists experimented with adopting a variety of literary techniques such as scene setting, dialogue, status details to denote social class, and getting inside the story and sometimes reporting the thoughts of a central character. Many of her books focused on cultural shifts, including Passages 1976, which was named one of the 10 most influential books of our times by the Library of Congress. Sheehy penned biographies and character studies of major 20th century leaders, including Hillary Clinton, both Presidents Bush, Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, Egyptian President Anwar Sadat, and Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev. Her most recent book, Daring My Passages Sept. 2014, is a memoir. Sheehy's article, The Secret of Grey Gardens, a cover story from the January 10, 1972 issue of New York, brought the bizarre bohemian life of Jacqueline Kennedy's Aunt Edith Ewing Bouvier Beale and cousin Edith Little Eddie Bouvier Beale to public attention. Their story was the basis for the film Grey Gardens and a Broadway musical of the same name.